This PSA was brought to you by the Peter G Show.
You may have second thoughts after the show.
Don't drink the positive. We're really talented. We should get Oscars.
Just pick out a car, for Christ's sake.
No, my name is Peter.
Yeah, I want.
Here's good.
Yeah.
Madam Perry.
I need to get back in the genie bottle.
Louis from Pennsylvania, you're on. He likes it. It's showtime.
Peter G Show, Peter G Show, divorced dad, single dad, divorced dad, single dad, Peter G Show.
That's right. Action. Lights. Cameras. Action. Wednesday evening. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Life of Peter G, the Peter G Show. Wednesday evening for you and I. Some parts of the world, it's already Thursday. But hey, so long as you're watching, I appreciate you. Beautiful day here in southern sunny California. Again, about 90 degrees out. Yeah, it's that warm. I mean, I'm sure we'll get a decrease in temperature eventually, but these past few days, it's that warm. Anyway, great show for you tonight, and I mean great show for you tonight. Estate planning attorney Jerry Taylor from down in the Gulf Coast. This is stuff that you don't ever take in consideration for your life, and you push it off to the side, and then when the time comes, you wish you had done it sooner. And I promise you, it is not boring. He's actually pretty interesting. He's got a lot of great stories and scenarios about why you need to think ahead of your future for when you pass, for your children, your family, the whole deal. Anyway, great show. We'll talk about that in a little while, but great show. Spring is upon us, folks. Spring is upon us. We're into spring now. For all those people wishing the cold weather would go away, you're almost there. In the north, northwest, northeast, I still see pictures with snow on the ground. It's like, sorry, I can't do. I'm done with that shit. I think I was done with that when I was about 12 years old, growing up in Connecticut, delivering newspapers, and the snow's up to your knees. And the papers back then, newspapers on Sunday used to be like that thick, and you could only carry at 12 years old, I think, on a Sunday. I pushed a shopping cart to deliver them because they were so big. You didn't use your paper bag. And why am I talking about this? Oh yeah, snow. Walking through the snow. Oops. I'm a little distracted. So you couldn't walk, and the Sunday papers, you had so many advertisings and the funnies. I mean, you lived for the Sunday stuff, and as a kid, the Sunday funny newspapers. And now, nobody even knows what that is. But anyway, that snow was so deep, I couldn't even push the shopping cart through the snow. So I bought a snowmobile for that year that I was delivering in the snow. Just a snowmobile. 12 years old. Brrr, brrr. It was pretty good. Anyway, lots of good stuff. Oh, so it's the end of March. Next week, Wednesday, the last Wednesday of March. East meets West. Bob Paff joining me. Baltimore's own Bob Paff is going to join me right here on this show, as he does every month for an edition of East meets West. We're going to talk about all the current events that are going on, things like that. But he's kind enough to co-host with me, and in fact, he's shooting his pilot the day before for On the Road with Bob Paff, so I'm sure he's going to have a lot to talk about, as well as all the stuff that goes on through the month that I want to just bitch about, and he assists me in the bitching, and I kind of like that, so it's kind of good. It takes a little bit of heat off of me, but anyway, okay, don't forget the podcasts, iTunes, Apple. I mean, it's not iTunes anymore. It's Apple Podcasts or Spotify. You can listen to the Peter G Show, Life of Peter G, on the go. Just put it in your ear. You don't have to watch. I like when you watch the show. I think there's certain things you might miss, but the podcast is next. It's the next best thing to being there. You can do it while you're at work, but don't forget we got all that stuff on podcast too, because this is not really a podcast; it's a vlogcast. Pardon me. Do you have any Grey Poupon? All right, so to complete my evening, to start it off, ladies and gentlemen, it would not be right unless I bring in the one, the only, when I say he's off to my far right, I mean it, and he's definitely off. Ladies and gentlemen, yours truly and mine, Sir Pepsi.
It's the Peter G Show.
How you doing, Pepsi?
Hey, doing fantastic, sir. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. A little bit warm out today as we took a stroll down the memory lane.
Boy, I'd say.
Yeah, what was that? What was that?
A little warm.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've been wanting
Flying
to talk
in
to you.
from the desert, you know.
Yes. You give the punchline.
Right. Anyway, yes.
You don't want to say your arms are tired?
Oh no, I was gonna wait. I was waiting for you to say that. Anyway.
All right. So I've been waiting all week to discuss this real quick because last week we had psychic reader Carrie Schubert on, right?
Oh, she's great. Yes.
Okay.
She's great.
So why don't you tell the viewers, because I had a lot of people that thought it's like, yeah, a bunch of baloney. Why don't you tell them what you felt about the whole deal?
No, absolutely. She was spot on from the very get-go. She was spot on, and I just really couldn't explain it on the air because of contractual agreements and other things. So anyway, but she was spot on from the very beginning, and you know what? She impressed me so much that I went out and I bought her book, Carrie Schubert's book, In the Wake of Lies. And I read it. It's a great read, but she's definitely clairvoyant and on the money, and apparently has been for a long time. So yes,
that's an autobiography she wrote too, right? It's about her life. Because her life was messed up.
Yes, it's an autobiography, but it explains how she's had this gift for quite a long time. And I don't know how I could have been a naysayer from the very beginning, because I've seen these things happen before. I've seen the universe bring things to fruition, so to speak. And I don't know why I was a naysayer from the very beginning, because I've seen the proof myself. And thanks for whacking me upside the head and showing me the light, so to speak, because it really is true.
Well, that was my point that I wanted to mention to everybody, because you were definitely the kind of guy that's like, you've seen me do stuff like this before, and but you were always off to the side and watching and going, yeah, well, okay, sure. And then all of a sudden I threw you into the middle to go deeper, not just about your dating life and all that stuff. And then this is what you got out of it.
Right. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to have a reading with her, next week. So I'll let you know how that turns out. But Carrie Schubert.
Inquiring minds want to know.
Again, I was blown away. She hit the nail right on the head. I mean, just right, bam, right off the bat. Where's me Meg?
Well, God knows.
Where's
God
me
knows,
Meg?
God knows. Listen, you can reach over and grab one. Get up your ass.
It got broken last week.
Yeah, a lot of things got broken.
Right. So,
oh my God.
Anyway,
don't ask, don't tell.
Right.
Yeah.
So
okay. So real quick, anything going on that to inform our audience that you feel is prevalent to not,
Well, it's March the 23rd. It's Atheist Day.
Is it real? Oh, that's right up your alley.
It's Melba Toast Day. Melba
Don't
Toast
you like?
Day.
Doesn't everybody like Melba toast?
National Chia Day. Chia.
Really?
Yeah, National Chia. National Chip and Dip.
Wow.
It is. Yeah. National
All right, well-
Puppy Day, too.
Well, now people can go, oh, I like puppies.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't love puppies, right?
Yeah, puppies, not poo-poo.
Exactly.
And with puppies comes poo-poo.
Well, true. That and pee-pee. Poo-poo and pee-pee.
Yeah, and papa. So, okay, you always manage to bring very pertinent things to the show, and I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, here.
We try.
All right, listen, I got to bring Jerry on because we're running into time here. The clock is ticking, but we go start shaking hands and kissing babies, and then
I got to go press buttons.
That's right. Go looking potent.
Well, if I'm going to be impotent, I might as well look impotent.
Yeah, that's
a true story.
And go get your mug. Okay.
Yeah, where's me mug? Okay.
Okay, I'll talk to you in a little bit.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. This is Pepsi signing out for now.
This is Pepsi signing out for now.
You'll get it eventually.
Eventually.
Yes, holy moly. Okay, folks. Just, it's part of the contract. It's like having to take care of your uncle's kid. Everybody's got one. All right, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I want to bring this on. Like I said, I'm going to just tell you this. I'm going to tell you this twice tonight, okay? Because I'm living proof of what we're getting ready to talk about with Jerry. If there's anything that you should spend a few dollars on, because we all spend money. I've learned this in life. People spend money where they want to spend it. Like, instead of spending it on their health, they'll go to the racetrack or they'll go, do this and that when it's so important. But I'm telling you, if there's any place that you should spend a few dollars to sit down and talk to a guy like Jerry, you'll find out after we get through the show. I'll say it again, to discuss your options, before it's too late about your life. It doesn't matter if you have a car, you have something that you're leaving to somebody, you're going to want to talk about this stuff, especially a lot of people say I'm broke, but we'll talk about it. Anyway, I just feel it's money well spent. And this is coming from a guy who lived it already. And I'm going to have to do it again now for my own daughter. I'm a little bit behind as well. Anyway, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, from the Gulf Coast of Mobile Bay, which it was just coincidence, close to my alma mater's home, Mr. Jerry Taylor. Hey, Jerry, how are you?
Good.
How are you?
How are you?
I'm good. I was just in the neighborhood that I dropped by and do a show, and I said, hey, why don't you join me?
Yeah, it worked out well.
Yeah, it did. You're here, and I'm here. Pepsi's here. He's busy doing whatever the hell he's doing. God knows what he's doing. Sorry. So I brought you on because I found you on TikTok by accident.
Right.
And I started watching you. And as I said a minute ago, a lot of people might say, estate planning, asset, securing planning, all that stuff. It's like it's boring stuff. And I don't have any money. I mean, there are people with a lot of money. There's a lot of people that don't have money, and they feel like, what do I have to worry about that stuff for? But as I watched your videos, I really started seeing that there's some really important things that are not boring. And why don't you just give everybody just a quick, like a synopsis of, why you do what you do and how important it is.
Sure. Thanks for having me on, by the way. And I've been practicing law for, I guess, about 35 years now. For a big part of that, I was a trial lawyer, litigator, and the last 10 years I did pharmaceutical litigation all over the country. Trying cases, I've tried probably 200 to 300 cases. And in all those cases, I had to help people with their estates because they all dealt with deaths, people that had died. We were filing lawsuits on their behalf. And I had to deal with estates for the families. And in the process of doing that, I got really close to families and I saw all the issues and the problems that came up while they were trying to resolve, estates for their loved ones that had died. And it just really struck my heart. And about 7 years ago, I decided that I wanted to stop traveling and I didn't want to do, I got tired of flying on planes. I wanted to do more of a local practice. So I decided I'd get into estate planning full time. And I've loved it. I work with people just protecting their families and making sure that things are going to happen after they die the way they want them to happen. Trying to alleviate all the problems that can pop up with families and resolving their estates. And there's just a lot of misconception out there about how estates get resolved and what a will does and what a trust does, what a trust is. So this is what I do every day. I work with people all over the country, and it's a lot of fun.
Wow. Yeah, no, I noticed that, again, watching your videos, you would think that, again, state planning, this is stuff. It's like, again, and I know the mindset. A lot of people go, what's the big deal? I don't, it's not like I'm rich or nothing. But then you got reasons for that.
Yeah. I thought estate plan would be super boring too on TikTok, but here I am about 500,000 followers later, and people are really, they are surprised at how much they don't know about all these issues. People just don't know that with a will, if all you have is a will, and most people, that's all they have. Probably half the population has a will, something like that. But with a will, you're going to have to go through court. You're going to have to go through a whole court proceeding to get that resolved. Your kids, if your kids are your heirs, they're going to have to go through a court proceeding to get all that resolved if all they have is a will. And certainly here in Alabama, it takes a minimum of 6 months to do that, and probably close to a year. And if there's any kind of problems, you're going to get closer to 2 years.
Wow. Yeah. I've noticed the biggest thing that I always know is that there's always big arguments in families when, especially if you got big families, when there's a bunch of children and who does what to take care of somebody, and then who didn't do anything to take care of anybody. And, so who gets this and what gets that, and it's a mess, and families all of a sudden divide, almost like our country now, but the same basic principle, and it's like, screw you, and you're not getting shit, and nobody talks to anybody for years.
Yeah, I've seen that so many times, Peter. You've got kids that come into the the estate resolution process, and they're pretty close. They've never had any problems, and then the exact issues that you've just talked about come up. Who spent more time taking care of mom? Who was in town with mom during her last years, and they spent more time. And so you've got that kid, and you got the kid that was 1,000 miles away, but nevertheless, feels like they're due an equal part of the estate. And so those kind of those animosities and difficult feelings crop up all the time. And my job is to try and alleviate some of that if I can. And I can do some of it. I can't do all of it, but I can do some of it.
Right. Well, that's why, as a adult, I think it's really important. Now, I was lucky. I was an only child. So the beauty was I didn't have to argue with anybody. But at the same time, I didn't have any help. I had help from friends. Thank God. I'm very blessed with a lot of people that I can call friends, and I'd be 2,000 miles away managing my parents, and you get these people that are in bad shape themselves, and they go, Peter, man, if your mama needs anything, you call me. So I was very blessed with that respect, but I didn't have to argue with anybody. It was just, that was it. I was an only child, but it's still a lot of responsibility. And even though things were all coming, downstream to me after they passed, there was still some technical stuff that goes with the county, the state, all of that stuff. It's not that simple. And they didn't have a whole lot, but still, if you happen to have a house, whether it's a $20,000 house or a $2 million house, there's still implications or complications, correct?
Yeah, definitely so. If you have a will, then you're going to have to, when your mom or dad dies, and that's what they had was a will, then you're going to have to go and get a lawyer who does probate work to shepherd that will, through the probate process. And the thing that I always tell people is, you've got to be ready for that whole process to cost about 5% of the value of your estate. So if your family had an estate of $500,000, 5% of that is $25,000. That's what you can count on, that process costing.
That sucks.
So whether it's, a $50,000 estate or a $5 million estate, it's going to be around 5%. It can be closer up to 10 or 15% if there's issues.
Right. Somebody dies and they don't have, because my parents, I learned the difference that my parents had a living will. They thought they were doing the right thing, but there's a difference while they're living, and all of a sudden they die, and then that will is obsolete, and you don't realize that. You think you got it together.
Yeah, you may be talking about a power of attorney.
Well, yeah, power of attorney. I mean, in case they get sick and things like that, all the above. I mean, they think
Yeah.
they're doing the right thing, and then all of a sudden they die, and it's like all that stuff means nothing now.
Right. Yeah. You can have, if you've given a child your power of attorney or someone else, and while you're alive, that gives whoever you've given that authority to, it gives them the ability to make decisions on your behalf. Generally, if you become incapacitated, that's the way most of those are set up. So, a child can come in and make financial decisions for you, handle all of that. They can make medical decisions for you, handle all of that. But when you die, that's a power of attorney is no longer of any use. It's completely invalid. There is no power there anymore. Then it all comes down to, what kind of estate plan do you have? Did you die without a will? Did you die with a will? If you die without a will, there's still a plan there, but it's going to be the plan that, whatever state you live in has for people that died without wills. It's called intestate succession. And your estate is going to be distributed according to what the state thinks is good, and that may not be what you ever wanted. But if you don't have a will, that's what's going to happen.
There's again all the legal jarble, power of attorney, and then there's durable power of attorney. It's like who as a normal person, it's like nobody wants to get involved with all that stuff, and it's tricky stuff. And then you let the state step in, and all they do is take,
Right.
And that's just not fair. Here's what I want to do. I got a couple of your videos, and we'll play a video, and then you'll comment on it. And speaking of children, we'll talk about this one real quick, and then you'll go from there. Okay.
Okay.
All right, here, check out one of Jerry Taylor's estate planning lawyer is TikTok videos, but we stripped away the TikTok so you can kind of get a grasp on it. So check this out.
Putting your house in your kid's name. It seems like a good plan to avoid the nursing home getting it, to avoid probate, but it's not. And I'll tell you why. You're going to continue living in the home, but it's going to be in your child's name. So yes, if you can do that for 5 years, then you've avoided Medicaid. Medicaid will have no claim to that house. But what if your child gets sued? What if your child files bankruptcy? What if your child gets divorced and an ex-spouse gets a sizable award? You're going to be giving up part or all of that house. There goes your home. And the same thing applies if you do that for purposes of getting around probate. When you die, you are exposed to your child's liabilities. Now you say, Jerry, I've got a great kid. Those things would never happen. But the idea is that you want to minimize the risk. You want to do away with that risk if you can, and there are better options available. And if that doesn't convince you, consider the tax consequences. If you put your home in your child's name, they will not get the step-up in basis when they sell the home. They will have to pay capital gains tax on the difference in the value in the home from when you bought it to when they are selling it. Depending on what state you live in, there are several other options available to avoid all of that. But one of the best, to my mind, is a living trust. You put that home into a living trust, which is in your name. When you die, the home passes to your child outside of probate, completely outside of court, and they receive the step-up in basis. They will not pay taxes. They will not pay capital gains tax on that difference in valuation. So, my suggestion to you, it is not a good idea to put your home into your child's name. Go to a good estate planning attorney and consider all the other options that are available to you. If you want more information like this, follow my channel.
That's right. Follow your channel. Look, I think that a lot of people think they're doing the right thing when they say, okay, I'm going to put your name on the house just in case anything happens to me, just like a checking account.
Yeah. Yeah. And, the same considerations apply to both, because I get those questions literally every single day and many times a day. People think they are doing the right thing. And also people think they're saving on legal fees by doing that. They don't want to do a will, or they don't want to do a trust, which would get around probate. So they want to put their kids' names on their house, so that when they die, their kid will automatically have that house by, you know, two names on the house. Generally, at least in this state, is joint, joint ownership by right of survivorship. So when one dies, the other person on the title automatically has entire ownership of that home. That's great, but you've got all the things I just talked about in that tape. One of the biggest is the tax issue. If they try and sell that house right away, they're going to be paying capital gains tax on the difference in between mom and daddy bought it to what the value is now. And that's a big issue. If they live in it 2 years, they might not have to do that. But if they've got another primary residence, they're going to be stuck paying capital gains on that house. So people think that it's a smart thing to do when it can really, really, really backfire.
Right. Again, you hit it earlier when you just said people don't want to spend the money on an attorney. I get it. I totally get it, because there's a lot of people that they live in hand to mouth, but yes, they have accumulated a few things through life, and it's more than nothing, but they go, I can't afford, to go see a lawyer. It's like, it don't make no sense to them at the time.
Right. I mean, most people out there have never gone to a lawyer for anything. They may not even know a lawyer. So, the whole concept of going to talk to a lawyer is a, scary, kind of intimidating thing for them. I understand it. But if you compare what it's going to cost to do like a trust plan, which would allow you to get around probate completely, avoid that whole process. And if you give your child a house through a will or a trust, they don't have to pay that tax. So, it's a question of paying me or some lawyer like me, $2,000 to $6,000, somewhere in that range, to get all of this done, versus the 5% that it takes to get through probate.
That's what I want to ask you. Do you get a lot of people after the fact, after they realize how screwed they're going to be? I mean, do they come to you then, and can you fix it after it's already said and done?
After the death?
Yeah.
No, it's set in stone then. Once once the person has passed away, that has a will, doesn't have a will, that's what you're stuck with. If there's a will there, the only way you can make that will legally enforceable is to go through the probate process. There's no other way around it. You don't always have to probate a will. If it's, for instance, like with you as a single child, you may not have had to go through probate with your parents. I don't know, but if everything can be worked out without having to, invoke the legality of the will, then you don't have to go through probate. But to make what the will says legally enforceable, you have to go through that probate process.
Wow. Okay. Because that sucks. I mean, you learn the hard way, and that's a costly way that could wipe out. I mean, that can force you into having to sell stuff. If you had anything, worth. And again, I'm just going from previous experiences. I got friends on both sides of the ones that are super wealthy and never have to worry if they didn't work another day in their life. And I have friends that live daily, and they're all good people no matter what. It's just dollars, different zeros, but things that you just don't take in consideration. And it kind of sucks, because right. I know that a lot of people, God knows, just because of healthcare and everything, how people don't take care of themselves in the first place because they can't afford it, let alone start thinking about, well, I need to secure this and spend money because I'm going to lose my ass and I don't even know it yet. That's the problem.
Right.
Wow.
Another issue with going through probate is that's a completely public proceeding. So, let's say your parents died with a lot of money, decent size estate, 2 million, 3 million, more, 10 million, whatever it is. If all they have is a will, that will is going to be public knowledge once it's filed in probate court. Anybody can search the database of the county that you're in and pull up that will. And believe me, plenty of people do. Plenty of people, that don't have good intentions do that, to see who the beneficiaries are, what the assets are. Is there some kind of an angle they can try and go at to get at one of the beneficiaries? So that's another big issue with a will. It's it's basically, you know, the cost of it and the lack of privacy. All that can be avoided with a living trust.
Okay, let's do another video real quick. We went
Right.
from your children, because again, the children, you know, you only pray, you raise a child, and you know things go. But sometimes your child, things don't go as planned, and they end up, you know, no matter how hard you try. I've known a lot of great people that have just had kids that got, you know, I thank God every day, because I had my moments, but I don't know, I'm kind of okay, but you know. You know, I made it this far, but the thing is, there's people that, like, you get kids that are hooked on drugs, or you know, this and that, and they start stealing
Right.
from your own parent. I mean, you had to see a bunch of stuff like that.
Yep, all the time.
Wow, and it's just sad. And then, you know, they're cleaned out, and you don't even know it. And then the rest of the family steps in, and they go, you know, so and so stole all that. I know I know, but actually, I know people, not even drugs, just people who have stolen because they had power of attorney over that one family member that lived closer to them, and then the family, you know, the mother or the father, they die, and then the rest of the family's like, where's this, where's that? There was a safe full of where's all that stuff, and it's gone.
Right. And once it's gone, it's typically too late. You're not going to get it back. I mean, certainly if it's somebody with an addiction, the money's already spent. So yeah, that's a huge issue. You know, I always say, if you're a beneficiary under a will or a trust, when mom or dad are in really bad shape, you know, and they're in the hospital, maybe on their deathbed, you need to keep a lookout. You know, your head needs to be on a swivel, because weird things happen. And once the money's gone, it's very hard to get back.
Sad but true. And that's family, you know, and it's harsh, but somebody once told me, it's just because they're blood doesn't mean you have to, you know, you still have to be connected to them. But I don't know. I mean, you know, sad but true. Let's talk about a will. I'm going to play this next video where you're featuring talking about wills. So
Okay.
sit tight and let's hear what you got to say, previous you.
Does a will require your family to go to probate court? The answer to that is yes. If all you have is a will, your family must take it to court to make it legally enforceable. Here's my take on wills. A will is like requiring your family to file a lawsuit against themselves that they will pay for, and only to benefit your creditors. The only people that will come out of probate court ahead are your creditors. Do your family a favor and die with a trust. A revocable living trust will bypass probate court completely. It will be much cheaper in the long run, and it will happen much, much quicker than they will ever get through probate court. For more information like this, follow my channel.
Yeah.
Revocable trust.
Right.
Here we are with more words other than trust. Explain that. I mean, why does it protect you so much?
So there's essentially two different types of trust. There's revocable or revocable, however you want to say it, and irrevocable. So just like the name says, revocable is you can do away with it if you want to. It's a very malleable, changeable type of trust. You know, it's the most common form of trust that you hear about. Typically, if people are alive and they say they have a trust, it's a revocable living trust. You can change it, you can add to it, you can do away with it. It's very, very flexible. An irrevocable trust, there again, just like it says, it's irrevocable. You cannot change it. Really, you can change it, but the process of doing that is extremely difficult. You've got to go to court. You've got to get in front of a judge. And every single person who is a party to that trust has to agree with making the change. So if you get into an irrevocable trust, you have to assume that nothing is going to be changed about that, you know, whatever assets are put into that irrevocable trust are going to be there until, you know, the terms of the trust say otherwise. So those are the two general types of trusts that are out there. But the most common is revocable.
But how much better does the irrevocable trust? I mean, that protects you against creditors. I mean, I used to hear a lot of things, you know, you talked about, and we'll get into the nursing home stuff and all that, but like they can, you know, take your house. And my mother always says, like, no, in Florida, they won't take your house or this and that. But, you know, when you put something set in stone 20 years prior, sooner, or 10 years or 5 years, I mean, you know, how do you sometimes not want to change your mind on something?
Well, you don't want to put anything into an irrevocable trust that you are going to need live on or to do anything with, really. I mean, it needs to be an asset, a home. You know, well, homes are actually a little bit different, but if it's money, if it's a retirement account, something like that, you need to make sure that you don't need that retirement account to live on before you put it into an irrevocable trust.
True,
Now,
but what about a home?
A home you can put into an irrevocable trust and still live in it for your life. And then at the end of your life, that home goes to whoever the beneficiary of the irrevocable trust is. And actually, you can sell that home during the time it's in an irrevocable trust, as long as the trustee agrees to that. Typically, in most of those situations, the trustee is a child. So you've got, parents, they want to put their home into an irrevocable trust. One of the biggest reasons for doing that is to protect it from Medicaid. If down the road they need Medicaid long-term care benefits in a nursing home or some long-term care institution, if you put it in an irrevocable trust and that home stays there 5 years before either one of them needs long-term care and would need to apply for long-term care Medicaid benefits, if it's in there 5 years, it's protected. So essentially it's invisible to Medicaid once it's been there 5 years. And that's, go ahead.
What about people? What about a lot of people? I mean, there's a lot of people who are in credit debt and things like that, and they die and they still have a lot of debt and all that. How are they protected from all that debt and not having to sell the house as well?
Well, it depends on, when the debt came about. You can't, once the debt exists, you can't put all your assets into a trust to protect from that debt because it's already there. That gets into the area of fraudulent conveyances. But if you put your assets into an irrevocable trust and then later, after that's done, a lawsuit comes about, or you get into credit problems, or you get into bankruptcy issues, or you get divorced and there's an ex-spouse looking for, some kind of a property settlement. If that stuff happens after you've put it into the trust, then you're good. That an irrevocable trust will protect whatever's in there from all of those things: creditors, lawsuits, ex-spouses. It's great protection, but you got to get it into the trust first. It can't be, a response to something that's already happened.
Because I get a lot of people that, the same thing. They go, I got I'm a mess kind of, and I don't want them taking the house or this and that. It's like, how do I protect it from, from that? So that way my kids can have it.
Yeah. It's tough to do once there's an issue out there, once there's a threat already out there. It's very difficult to protect an asset.
Well, because I see all these people. I mean, they get their businesses and they set up their businesses in certain ways to where they can't go after their their private stuff, and so I don't. That's what I'm saying. It's that complicated. This is why people need to talk to and see people like you, because you don't know what direction to go, and it's based on your experience to take what they're telling you and evaluate what's going on, so that way you can say, okay, I see what you got, and I think it's best if we go in this direction as opposed to what you were thinking. I mean, is that true?
Yes, absolutely. It's, people like to think of this, trust and things of that nature as a one size fits all, and it is definitely not. I get questions all the time over social media. Well, what should I do? What should I do? Will or trust, or, I've got this much in assets and I've got a home. What should I do? Well, generally I can tell you which one applies, but really you need to get in front of somebody who's going to ask you some probing questions and sit there for an hour and ask you those probing questions and find out about your family, your kids, who are they? What are their life experiences? What's your life experience? In addition to finding all about your assets and, property and things of that nature. It takes some probing and some work to do the right job for people. My job is essentially to take care of all the what if questions. I get accused a lot of asking too many what if questions, but that's my entire job, trying to take care of the what ifs.
Yeah, because I can see if something goes wrong, you go, well, I didn't know. And so yeah, you ask the questions to make the right decisions. people let's different states have different laws. I mean, you practice in several different states from what I remember, correct?
Right. I practice in Alabama and Mississippi, and I'm licensed in Florida and Tennessee. And, I work, people in my circle, we do work all over the country, particularly when it comes to Medicaid planning, Medicaid crisis planning, things of that nature. So, I generally have a feel for what's going on around the country. But most of my work is, personally here in Alabama and Mississippi and Florida and Tennessee.
Right. Gotcha. Okay. Well, Wills, again, it's complicated stuff. This is why I tell people, I'm going to be telling people and telling people, you can't just figure it out on your own. You got to have a professional. That's why you don't get your car worked on by, a basketball player. I mean, it just doesn't. You got. Well, yeah, you need somebody reputable, and it takes years to know and to learn. And unfortunately, in the music business, because I didn't tell everybody, but you're also a musician too. I used to say when I left the Gulf Coast, unfortunately, my musician friends are making the same amount of money that they made when I left there 30 years ago. To play in local bars and clubs. They're not making a dime more than what I made back then. It hasn't changed, and it's sad because these guys are great players. It takes years to be a player, to learn how to, perfect an instrument and do that. And it's just not, unfortunately, they say the old adage, you pack up $5,000 worth of gear in a, $500 car to drive 50 miles to a $100 gig.
Exactly.
And so you've been doing this a lot of years. You pretty much can sum up and figure it out and pretty much get it right if they're willing to come and see you and talk about it.
Yeah, we have to talk about it. It's the same thing as when you go to see your doctor, your physician. He wants to know what's been going on. He wants to know if you've had problems, anything you're feeling that's unusual, what your history is. It's the same way with me. I've got to know about your family. I got to know about you. I got to know what your background is, to be able to put together the right plan that's going to do what you want it to do when you want it to do it. It takes some effort, it takes some fact finding, and then, just putting together that right, personalized plan.
No, I get it. With doctors, yeah, they come in, you see them for 10, 15 minutes and you're hoping they're going to evaluate your whole health situation. And that's tough, so you need to spend more than 10 or 15 minutes doing that on your life. If your life is important, especially if you love your family too. All right, let's do another video, one more. And you just touched on Medicaid and things like that. Things as people start to age out. You look, I swore I'd never, put my parents in a nursing home, but it got to the point where my mother lost her ability to walk and the house could not facilitate it. Bathing, showering, and getting her up. And she was dead weight and she wasn't super heavy, but 100 pounds of dead weight is, or 150 is a lot of weight when you're just a person and you don't have the doorways to get through. So it costs money to get into those places. I was so scared of her, I didn't want her rotting in some corner of a nursing home, but there are good nursing homes, especially if the families pay attention, but it all costs money. So we're going to play a video real quick and then you talk about that one too. Okay.
Right.
All right. So let's do this. Here we go. So sit tight and then you'll tell me what's happened.
This is what I've been trying to warn you about. Medicaid recovery for long-term care benefits, nursing home benefits paid on your behalf is real. They will put a lien on your home. This is completely avoidable with a Medicaid Asset Protection Trust. Put your home in a Medicaid Asset Protection Trust for 5 years before you need long-term care, and it will be completely exempt from Medicaid recovery. For more information like this, follow my channel.
That's right. Medicaid, you wouldn't think, I mean, when do they come out and tell you this, that they're going to come after you? After the fact?
No, that you will know about it when, right when you put somebody into a nursing home. Typically, different state laws apply, but the fact situation I was talking about right there was somebody in Alabama, And when you get admitted to a nursing home in Alabama, one of the first things they're going to ask you for is a copy of the deed of your home, because they want to know how they can file the lien. So if you get on Medicaid, if you're not private paying, which could be $7,000 to $10,000 a month,
A lot of money.
and plenty of people do that. But if you do get on Medicaid benefits, Medicaid is going to want all of that money back, literally all of that money back. So if you're in that home for 4 years, let's say, and it costs you $80,000 a year, that's $320,000 that they want back. So in Alabama and in other states, they can file a lien on your home for $320,000. Now, they're not going to put you out of your home or put, your surviving spouse out of your home, but that home can't be sold without paying off that lien. Now, in Florida, you said you had your mom or dad was in Florida. Florida does have homestead law that protects against that. Florida, quite frankly, is much more kind to the elderly than Alabama is. In Florida, you've got homestead law, and the Medicaid can't come against your home while you're alive. Now, what they can do in Florida is file a lien on your probate estate. So, if somebody has a will and they file it in probate to go through that process, then Medicaid can come and put a lien or file a claim in your probate, in that probate process, and get paid back out of anything that is in the estate that goes through probate.
Florida is, I was very grateful. Florida has a lot of great programs for the elderly. I mean, everybody makes jokes, because all the old people move down to Florida and this and that. But, they do have a lot of, I was very blessed because, again, my mother started slowly getting, to the point where she could not take care of herself. And through all these programs, whether it was somebody coming to the house a few days a week and all these programs. So I was very blessed with that. But then it got to the point to where, she had to go into a nursing home. She spent 2 years in there and I hated it. But God bless the people. because they knew that we cared and we stayed on top of them. And they even came to my mother's funeral. And so, how many people, everybody dies in nursing homes. You think they go to everybody's funeral. Mm-hmm. And so I have a relationship. Great. Yeah, I have a relationship with someone. So when my father died 3 years later, 3 years later, they came to his funeral. Wow. Because he was there every day, showing up to make sure that she was being okay, and
that's critical when you've got somebody in a nursing home. You've got to, you have to be an advocate, and you have to be a very vocal and present advocate for your loved one if they're in a nursing home. That's the only way but that's generally, it's very important to do that, to make sure they get good care.
Absolutely. And that's what was my biggest fear, because I'm telling you, I always thought, that you could have a great nursing home and great care, but the daytime workers, like the people who have the good shifts, they're wonderful. But then you get the nighttime or the weekend people, and not everybody has that gift, that special gift to take care. It's not easy to take care of old people.
It is not easy at all.
You have to be special, and God bless those people, because and we'd have our moments, but it was short, and I was a lot better. But if you don't show up but once a month to visit your mother or your father or a loved one, whoever, or you're not, they're going to suffer. You need to pay attention.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
That's just the way it is.
Yeah, and then on top of that, you have the financial burdens, like what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Right,
so generally, everybody that I talk to, regardless of their age, I like to let them know that, the tail end of the estate planning process is preparing for the possibility that you will need long-term care of some kind, whether it's assisted living, or into a fully blown 24-hour care nursing home. And the way, the primary way of preparing for that, if you come about it early, if you begin to look at it early in your 50s, in your early 60s, something like that, the primary way to do it is with one of those trusts that I was talking about, a Medicaid Asset Protection Trust, which is an irrevocable trust. And you put whatever assets you can in there that you don't need to live on. And if you make it 5 years, it's a risk you run, quite frankly. But if you're in good health going into that situation, Generally, unless you're in an accident, you're probably going to make it 5 years. But whatever you put in there does have to be there 5 years. And then beyond that, if you're staring a nursing home in the face 30 days away, we call that crisis planning because, um,
Christ.
work has to be done, very quickly, in an emergent fashion to get the things in place to try and save the family as much money as they can, and apply for Medicaid benefits once their loved one gets in the nursing home.
I want to talk real quick because as I was going through your website, I saw something, and you have a story, and I'm running out of time. I tell you, time was going to go quick, but before we tell how people can get a hold of you and all this, I do want to touch on this. I'm going to run a few minutes over, but I don't care because I feel this is just kind of cool because we're involving the name Bob Ross. Okay. You told a story about Bob Ross, the painter. And I don't know how many years ago he died, but there was some issues with his estate and all that, correct?
Yeah, there was an issue. I'm trying to remember exactly what it was.
Oh boy, sorry. So, oh man, so I hit you off guard.
It was one of those situations where people started fighting over, his estate after he was gone, and it ended up in protracted litigation going on for years and years. And some people got what they wanted and some didn't, but a big part of the problem was he didn't have a trust to avoid the whole probate process.
It was something with his son having the rights to his name, and after his death using Bob Ross and all that kind of stuff. And I guess he didn't have it set up properly. And I just saw there was a story at the bottom of your website. I guess you set it up a long time ago, but I just saw that, and it's like, doesn't matter how rich you are, you can still make these mistakes.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, the way what's in all these celebrities' estates, Michael Jackson and all these other celebrities you hear about, is because they had a will, and that will was put in probate, and so it became a public matter, and that's why But you've got people like Prince, for instance. The musician Prince.
Right.
Everybody out there probably knows who he is, but he died several years ago. He didn't have a will. He didn't have anything, and I think it's been 6 years since he died, and it's they're still going through lawsuits and trying to sort everything out. He had a big estate, and especially when there's no plan whatsoever and no will, everybody wants a piece of it.
And he didn't think he was going to check out. Nobody has those unexpected, heart attacks, ODs, or accidental, drug overdoses, just things like that. Nobody.
Yeah.
Nobody. Yeah.
I'm The earlier you get over your fear of, addressing these issues, the better, because you don't know what's going to happen in life.
I'm telling you, it scares the shit out of me. I mean, because, you walk out your door. I don't think anybody ever thought they're going to walk out the door and not come home.
Right.
Car accident, anything. It's an idiot, robberies, murders. I mean, I hate to be it's not the devil down. It's just the life. It's wrong place at the wrong time. Sucks really bad. But okay, here's what I want to do. I want you to tell, because time has flown, but I want you to tell everybody how that. And I found you on TikTok, and you're killing it on TikTok. But still, there's a lot of people who don't go on TikTok. But tell people how they can call you, contact you, and anytime, and because this show will live on forever. And if they find you and hear this story and find out that, wow, I never considered that, how they can find you and talk to you.
Yeah, so on TikTok, it's at Jerry Taylor Law, one word, Jerry Taylor Law. You can find my channel there. All these videos you've seen here, I've got that and many, many, many more. If you want to contact me directly, you can call my office. The number there is 251-517-7507. You can go to my website, which is www.jerrytaylorlaw.com. And you can email me, Jerry, and that's with a J, Jerry at jerrytaylorlaw.com. All those ways will eventually get to me.
What gave you the idea to start doing TikTok?
It's crazy. It was just on a whim. I was talking to some guys who were trying to, set up virtual offices, and it was around Christmas, just a couple of months ago. And they tell me about some other lawyer who had gotten on TikTok and had a bunch, all of a sudden had a bunch of followers. So I thought, I can do that. That's easy enough. All you need is your phone. So I made a couple of videos. I didn't go anywhere, made a few more. And then all of a sudden one of them hit and got maybe 300,000 views. So I started making a few more. And then one of those hit and got about 6 million views. Another one got 3 million, 2 million, 1 million. So, right now I've got just under 500,000 followers, and it's just people who didn't know all this information. They've been through a bunch of bad situations in their lives, and they don't want their family to go through that. So it's great. I mean, I didn't think anybody would be interested in estate planning, but lo and behold, they are.
And you got a lot of videos out. You caught my eye, and it's like now, as you're telling me of all the hits and views and followers and all that, I'm going, I should have listened to my mother. And I said, Mom, I want to be a musician. It's like, wow, no, no, it's all good. I God bless my parents for putting up. I made a lot of noise growing up, and they put up with it, and they still supported me.
Yeah.
That's why I love my parents so much, and that's why it was so important to me that you do what's right, because the roles changed as an adult. Before long, I'm telling them what to do and in their best interest. But I mean, I'm yelling at my father, over the phone, because he only listened to what he wanted to hear, and if he didn't want to talk to me, he'd just hang the phone up.
Yeah.
And I'd have to fly over there. And it's like, what's wrong with you? Why are you yelling at me? And it's like, because I'm talking to you and you're not listening. But you know what? He got older, and I mean, they lived into their early 90s. So,
wow.
But 150 wouldn't have been enough. I mean, just greedy that way. Anyway, all right, ladies and gentlemen, right here, Jerry Taylor from Jerry Taylor Law. You can find him on his websites, TikTok, Instagram. You on Facebook too?
Yes, I'm on Facebook, Jerry Taylor Law.
And LinkedIn as well.
Correct.
Right? Yeah. So you can find him over there. Listen, I deeply appreciate you taking the time. As I started, finding you and tracking you down, I don't know what you were thinking, but thank you. Then it comes that we actually have close roots.
I was thinking, Peter G really wants to talk to me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was your. Well, I know there. Yes. No, that would have been different. And my assistant's like, Peter G would like to have a word with you, and please hold on. But I appreciate the time. Again, we share a lot of the same love of the area you live in, and who knows? Like I said, there's a small gap between us, but it's very small. And you come hanging out around my end, from what I can tell too. So life is short, and this is just the beginning of our relationship. So I mean, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if you end up getting a call from me for stuff, because I got with this empire,
Ooh, lot to handle.
Yeah, it's this empire. It's like, look at him laughing. Anyway, hey, go back to work. Anyway, so I too have been lollygagging on a few things, and you just don't know, especially in this crazy world we're living in. So again, I thank you for your time, and we'll talk. Actually, I'll give you a call tomorrow just to sum a few things up, and if you're available,
I'll be around.
And okay. Ladies and gentlemen, the last time, Jerry Taylor from Jerry Taylor Law Estate Planning, right there in the flesh. Had I known, I would have had you do a small performance for us.
Next time.
Next time, you're right. And there is, God willing, there'll be a next time, because I think this is stuff that needs to be repeated, because you can't catch everybody. Jesus once said that, 2,000 years, and I still don't have everybody. So let's see what happens. All right, buddy. I thank you very much. Okay. All right. You take care of yourself.
Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Right there, folks. Jerry Taylor. I strongly suggest, write that number down. You can call him. You can talk to him. You go visit him. But this is stuff you need to talk about. Now let's see if he's busy. I'm sure he's weaving gold. Where are you at? There you are. Oops, I got you. There you go. Oops, there you go.
Mr. Jerry Taylor. Right.
Yeah. You were kind of listening while you're working?
Yes. All smart people know that, absolutely have to be 100% transparent with two people. That's your lawyer and your doctor. So really good advice from Mr. Jerry Taylor. Yeah, thank you for all of that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Go-
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Doc, it hurts when I do this.
Don't do that.
Yeah, exactly. Pay the nurse out front.
That'll be $500, please.
Yeah,
Do you have Medicaid?
Yeah, exactly. Or do they Medicare?
I doubt it, but
Yeah, I
I
doubt
don't know,
it too.
that's to be seen. Right?
Yeah, it's a tough one. Well, I think that was, I don't know. My gut told me that we should have him on to do what he does and to talk about it, because I just think there's a lot of people that don't know what they just heard.
You know, by the way, we had a lot of callers calling in and asking questions. I know it's just a busy show and whatever. So if that ever happens again, yes.
No, but that's the problem too, because I wanted to take all. It's an hour show. I don't know how they do. I was watching last night. I was watching James Corden because I really like him a lot. I mean, I think they're fun. They were actually, it was a really funny, entertaining show. And it's like, it just seems like they can fit a whole lot more stuff within an hour than I can. At least I don't know, but I don't know how the hell they do it. It's money. I'm telling you, the money slows time down. It kind of, yeah.
Anyway,
And so I was, I was considering. I said maybe we want to take phone calls tonight, but you know what? If I get them back again, we touch now.
Sure.
Tonight was a really big information night, I think. So
jam packed full of good information.
yeah,
and a
I
great
hope.
show.
I mean, because we talked about accidental death, and
Yes.
and that you just.
That could easily happen, you know.
It could easily happen to anybody, to anybody, you know, to anybody. Yeah. So that's why I say that, every day is a gift, and
Absolutely.
but for the sake of your loved ones, siblings, anything, if you have assets, you don't want. I mean, to me, I'd rather give it to the hobo on the street than let the state take it.
Anything but that, right? Anything but that.
Yeah, because they're not going to do shit with it anyway.
Well, don't they get enough already? But that's another discussion for another day.
Show. They're going to line their pockets. They're going to line their pockets, and all for me, none for you.
Right.
All right. Listen, is there anything you want to wrap up with? Anything important that I may have missed? Because, with all this excitement.
Well, I found out again, just project positivity in the universe, because you know what? It's contagious. Right.
Well, okay, but I mean, so's gonorrhea, but it's,
well, but it works the same way with negativity as well. So
I
you
think it
always
all
want to
started with
project positivity.
I think it all starts with positivity, and it turned into syphilis. It's a word you don't hear that much anymore, right? Now you got COVID. Same thing. Oh, did I say that? That's that word? I'm probably going to get banned again. Banned. Speaking of banned.
Banned.
Yeah, banned. All right. Hey, just a reminder before I forget, because we got to go. We got stuff. We got to go. Yeah, we got work to do. This is just the beginning. Hey, don't forget, Wednesday, it's East Meets West.
Bob Half.
Bob Half.
Yeah.
I know he's going to be all hyped up because he's filming his pilot for On the Road with Bob Half the day before. And he said, no worries. Yeah, no worries. So I'm sure he'll have a lot to talk about, plus all the normal life ass aches that I want to bring up so, we can just cry together. Tito, bring me a tissue.
Here's your Tito Peppy. I love you, man. I love you, man. I really do, though.
Crime is going up. What are we going to do about it?
Smoke a doobie.
Yeah, I guess. Can't we all just get along?
Yeah, exactly. Can't we all just...
All right. Well, that's it. If you got nothing pertinent to finish up with, but I think we did enough damage for today. What do you think?
Yes, I think so. It was a great show, Mr. Peter G.
All right. Well, I appreciate you being here in one piece today, and
always, sir.
Yes, and showing up is always part of the effort, but good job is what I'm saying. Good job. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and the only Sir Pepsi, the guy right there. Woo, all right, say goodnight, Pepsi. Nope, he won't say goodnight. Say goodnight. So you don't want to leave. Okay. I'll say Pepsi saying goodnight. Wave bye-bye.
Good night. Good night. Pepsi, say good night.
Ladies and germs. All right, see you later. Holy moly. Yeah, he says to you. Actually, not bad. Someday I'm going to have a long talk with that boy. All right, folks. Wednesday, next show coming up. The infamous Baltimore's Mr. Bob Half going to be here with East Meets West the end of the month. He's going to help me co-host, and we're going to talk about a bunch of good stuff, as always. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. This is important stuff. I would share this if I were you. There's plenty of people who don't know they have to hear it, but they need to hear it, which leads me back to I told you I'd said it twice, and I'm going to say it again. If there's anything that you should spend a few dollars on, you need to sit down with a guy like Jerry Taylor, or call Jerry Taylor and sit down with him. Discuss your options before it's too late. Life is short, people. It's getting shorter. Not saying gloom and doom. This is just to benefit the people you love, It's not, it's just money well spent. I know people piss away money all kinds of different directions. Just do it. Don't forget to tune into the Apple podcast, Peter G Show, Life of Peter G. Right here. You can listen on the go. On demand anytime you want. Same with all these streams. Okay? So that's going to be it. As always, I want to tell you guys, I love you for tuning in. I know that life's full of choices. You can make choices to do all kinds of stuff. And but yet you choose to spend a little bit of time with us over here. So be kind. You don't have to take a lot of crap from people. But you don't have to be an ass either. It's a tough world out there. Life's a bitch, but if you get the opportunity to wake up every day, count your blessings and just go for it, because for some reason you're supposed to still be here. So that's it. My name is Peter G. As always, love you guys. Peace out.
Peter G Show, Peter G Show, divorced dad, single